Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. What he said, your friend or brother, is right, exactly, but it has never been mistaken by the ulama. So ulama knew it from before. They always mentioned it, and it has been recorded in history. The 30 years roughly complete when Sayyidina Hassan radiallahu ta'ala anhu said 6 months are included. And by the way, khulafaa Rashideen does not only include 4 or 5, there's no number to it, and there are others involved in it. There are many others ulama, many other khulafa who are included in this, and there is different categorization, and it is not aqeedah point. One doesn't have to have that or this idea, but the 6 months of Sayyidina Hassan radiallahu ta'ala anhu was only to calm down the people, and that is why his brief period is not very much talked about. But his biggest achievement there was to remove the fights between Muslims, two factions. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam already foretold about that this son of mine is a leader. He will reconcile between the two fighting Muslim factions, and he did that in his time. So this was his biggest achievement, and he was obviously Khalifa Rashid. Sayyidina Abdullah bin Zubair radiallahu ta'ala anhu was Khalifa Rashid also, and likewise Umar bin Abdul Aziz, Sayyidina Muawiyah, they are all considered Khalifatul Rashideen. So there are many. There are certain afterwards as well. Anyone who followed the way of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in their managing the country as a leader is Khalifa Rashid, the rightly guided Khalifa, someone who is a successor of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in following the footsteps of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam more so than they have erred there. And the more closer you are to the way of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the more Rashid you are. So the first 4 are really at the top end of the spectrum. They literally imitated Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in all respects to the best of their ability. Obviously there's a difference between a prophet and non-prophet, yet they tried their best. That is why their time was the most prime time of Ummah. And obviously as we moved on, the time was slightly different. People were different. These people were dealing with other people. Abu Bakr and Umar had much better time because they had under their jurisdiction the Sahaba, the trained people of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. To deal with them was way easier. This is why Sayyidina Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu, when someone criticized him saying that during the time of Abu Bakr and Umar this is how things were, so he responded by saying, as regards Abu Bakr and Umar, they were leading over us, they were Amir over us. As regards us, we are leading over the likes of you. So obviously there has been new people, next generation coming in, the children getting older. They have not seen Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Many non-Muslims coming to Islam and Islamic fold. So obviously they are not trained as much. So their level was way lower than that of Sahaba. So deal with them was different. So you would find that trend, not because necessarily the Khalifa himself had any deficiency. In fact, it was not the case for all 4, including even 5th Sayyidina Hassan, and even 6th Sayyidina Abdullah bin Zubair, and even 7th Sayyidina Muawiyah before him. All of those Sahaba, they were the best of the best, and they tried their best to stay in close proximity to the way of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Obviously, Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq remains at the top, Umar afterward, and in that order. And there are obviously certain deviations that people have to have depending the time that they were in, dealing with people. The situation changed, so they had to do certain things which were not wrong in any sense, yet they were not the best out of the 2 options, but they had to go for that in order to keep the Ummah united. So they were still Khalifa Rashid, but their rushd, their being rightly guided, has obviously different degrees. Some much more close to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, some is slightly less closeness, or maybe a little bit of being distant from that same straight track. The path remains the same. So they did not deviate at all in any way. They had to go within the normal range, the range being from this to that extent. So the Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman and Ali, they managed to be on the higher spectrum, as close to Rasulullah as possible in that order. But there's certain who came afterwards, they had obviously some deficiencies, some need of the time dictated them to be on a slightly middle or the lower end of the spectrum, but still within the range of rushd, but still Rashidun, but still khulafaa, and they did not have any problem whatsoever. It was the need of the time, it was the requirement of the situation, knowing the context and the time. So by any means there was no blame upon those rightly guided khulafaa Rashidin. Yes, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam didn't specify. There are, mashallah, many that will come even in future. There's still Imam Mahdi, the final one, who will still be Khalifa Rashid. So it's not limited to any numbers. So that fact is fine. Yet what he said that scholars didn't know is completely wrong. Scholars knew it from before. It's been mentioned in many books from the earliest time to now. So it's not a secret to anyone. Yes, for common men, since Hassan's contribution is only for a very short while and it is not seen by common people, they just by extension call it for Khulafaa Rashidin. Especially when there was a lot of disagreement and discrepancy and distortion in history around that time, from the time of Sayyidina Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu, and in fact from the end time of Sayyidina Uthman radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Those are the stuff which are not generally talked about or taught to the common people at a very basic level until they have come to some level of decency in their understanding, maturity in their approach, and adab in their demeanor and etiquette. Then they get to know all those facts and basic stuff, slowly building up on that to make them much more mature. So, but it has never been, misunderstood by the imams of the past or the scholars of the past and present, alhamdulillah.